Right, so I'm going to take it out for a drive. Should be interesting. So a couple of things I didn't mention in the last video after the MOT. When I drove it home, I had a very tiny oil leak from the oil supply line going to the turbo. So I sorted that out, a couple of new copper washers. Hopefully that's sorted out. I will be checking it at this time. I had a small leak from the expansion tank. It's a new expansion tank. It's got sight glass in it, and where the sight glass is in, the threads are just they're just terrible. They're really bad. So I took them out, cleaned it up. I put a bit of like PTFE and a new rubber washer on there, and that seems to have sorted that out. That's that sorted. So from that side of it is okay. Obviously I'm going to do a couple of small journeys first and then check again for leaks before I start giving it any kind of stick. I've sorted the dash out. That's all working absolutely fine. I basically removed all of the CAN bus from the system. So it's only literally the ECU going to the dash. All of the ABS and all that kind of stuff is now going to be on a separate CAN bus to the ECU because it's got two ports for it. I haven't set that up yet, so I can do things like traction control for individual wheel speeds and all that kind of stuff, but that's in the future. Right, so as it is now, I've got everything set up. I've bodged together a camera mount. I'm going to get this out on the road, start driving it, start trying to knock up a basic cruising tune so I can at least drive it around, and obviously the more I do, the further I can go, and that's how I get on. And there we are back in the garage. So no major problems. It drove as you expected it to drive. It drove so much better than what the old setup was. Unbelievable. Only obviously no real boost through it yet. I think I hit about 10 psi at points and stuff like that. But yeah, really happy. Still needs a lot of work with the tune. Obviously gets better the more you do it, the better it will get. I'm still quite novice, so it's going to take me a long time to sort out. But yeah, it was just, the temperatures outside is so hot at the moment. It's just, I'm fighting, just pouring a sweat. It's not enjoyable. Loads of traffic on the road. I'm just going to wait for it to cool off a bit before I can really get it out and start doing some proper pulls. So I'm going to look through the logs, see where I can tweak the tune as it is. But yeah, really happy. It pulls so much better. I think I was hitting sort of 10 psi. Boost by like 3,000 RPM. It was night and day difference to what it was before. But yeah, really happy. Good fun. Good to be back on the road. Good thing it didn't just straight away just fall apart or the engine fall out. So yeah, all going well at the minute. I'll update you when I take it out for the next drive. Right then, back already. So I haven't taken the car back out. I've discovered some problems, as is a little bit of tradition. Basically, I've been going through the logs and found some unusual activity, should we say. What I'll do is I'll try and get a screen capture of what I'm doing on the laptop, so I can talk through it. It might be a bit easier to explain, and then I'll show some of the ideas of the first solutions I'm going to try, and see if they work. But yeah, let's go on the laptop, and we'll see if I can show a bit better. Right, so this is my logs just here of the last little run that I did, and now if I highlight in this little area and look at the RPM, it's just coming off the scale there. If I you might be able to see there are some spikes in the RPM. So if we look at the top values here, look, we're reaching nearly 12,000 RPM. Now I know I built the engine quite well, but I don't know if it can take quite that much. Probably can't take 30,000, 20,000. So yeah, as you can see, it's spiking to obscenely high numbers along there, which obviously is not 50,000 there. That's a new beauty. So yeah, that's obviously not right. And then if you look at the TPS here, you see the lines are just not smooth. Obviously we've got an ignition cut coming in because it thinks it's doing like 5 million RPM. So yeah, the combination of the dips, the bumps in the RPM signal and the TPS signal would lead to obviously an issue. Now, first thing I'm going to do is sort out the earth to the battery, and I'll switch back over to my camera and I can show you that. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the Armin threshold. If we go back, see if I can get on there, for the triggers. So in my trigger setup, what we've got is an Armin threshold. This is just the voltage that it will basically ignore anything below it. Now what I'll do is I'll get the engine running just to make sure, just to confirm the voltage that I'm getting at from the signal. It was about 3.5 volts from memory, but I will double check it. So I can up these probably to 3 volts sort of as soon as it's up and running, and it will just then ignore everything below it. So it should create or cut out any interference. I'll do that with both the crank sensor and the cam sensor to obviously get a better idea of what's going on. Right, okay, so let me show you what's going on, or what the plan is with this battery. Right, so this is the battery in the boot. Now I was really lazy and you shouldn't really do it like this, but I did. The earth cable, I literally just found the first bolt I could find, and it is mounted in there. Hope it's not too dark, just at the seat mount. Obviously it's not a designed earth strap, so it may be causing a little bit of voltage interference, maybe, to the ECU. So what I'm going to do is I probably will leave it on there because it does work with the start motor, things like that, but add additions to it basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run another cable from here, then I will run it down with where I got the power cable running. And I'm going to run it up into behind the glove box, and then make it like a star point grounding system, so that all of the grounds then from the ECU side of it will all ground at that point. So it's a nice solid ground to the ECU. I was also thinking of running it through the bulkhead, because I can put another point like similar to the positive and out into the engine bay as well for another ground, so everything has got solid ground all the way back to the battery. Whether I do that or not, I don't know. So yeah, that's one thing I'm going to do. It may not be the issue, but I know it could be better. So I'm just going to make it better. I think I've got enough cable. It doesn't, because I'm going to keep the one in the where it is, I don't need as thick of a cable to carry all the current. It's only going to be for the ECU and things like that, which grounds obviously sensors and stuff anyway. So we should be all right on that front. The other thing I'm going to do is with the engine running, I am going to wiggle the connection here of the bulkheads, and just make sure while it's running I'm getting no fluctuation in any of the signals. Yeah, just in case that bulkhead connector or the connection in the wiring is causing bad contacts. I'll also wiggle the wires down underneath on the crankshaft. I have to be a bit careful with that one because it does run extremely close to the crankshaft pulley. So yeah, so those are the things I got to do. I'm not going to be doing tonight. I'm going to chill out tonight because it has been absolutely scorching hot. So yeah, that's so time to put my feet up and relax. But one thing I will just show, I'll go back, just film on here while I'm on air. I was really happy because we're having 30-degree weather outside when I took this out for a drive, and my intake temps, I don't know if we're going to see it. It's not going to show it, is it? But they were all averaging about between 34 and 36 degrees. From a 30-degree baseline, I'm over the moon with that, because on the old setup, I might have, if you have seen my earlier videos, I do explain the problems I was having with the old setup. Even in a 4-degree December evening, I was still seeing intake temperatures of 38 degrees on a cruise. So I'm cooler than that on a red hot day on a cruise. It'd be interesting to know what it's going to hit when I do actually put some boost through it. But it's a very good start, so I'm really happy with that. So yeah, so I'm going to get those bits done now. Well, not now, but when that'll be the next step. Get that wiring sorted, check it out, make sure I've got no problems with that. I'm going to change the Armin threshold. I might just quickly show you how I do that when I do it on the screen capture, as long as that all works, because I'm kind of new to that software. So yeah, leave it with me for a little bit. I'll be back very shortly, I'm sure. Talking you through what I've done and what I'm doing next. Right, so I'm basically going to get the Armin threshold set on these on this crank sensor or cam sensor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture the signals at on cranking speed, at idle, and then probably about 3,000 RPM, something like that. What I've done is just disconnected the injector, so I'm not getting any fuel in there. I'm going to get the trigger mode set up, trigger scope. It's all built in on this Link ECU, which is brilliant. So what I need to do is crank it and then press capture at the same time. So I'm just going to do that now. So this is one of the open log open, and this is when I was revving it to 3,000 RPM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and well, this is about the lowest point here, these peaks. See if I can get the top of one of these peaks. It goes about there. So that is 20 volts AC. That's surprising, didn't know it goes that high. So I'm just going to make a little note of that. 20 volts. And then again on the low side, I mean, that's going to probably be very similar. That's minus 23. So yeah, and then my cam sensor, if we look around here somewhere, so we're looking at 6 volts on the peak there. And it looks a lot less on the dip, but the dip's not quite so important, but minus 5. Right, so that's that. I'm now going to take the ones for the idle speed, and then I can look at adjusting the Armin threshold. Gotta love laptops, eh? Good old batteries. Right, so basically all I'm going to do is I am going to take the note. I just made a couple of notes of the voltages that I made. I was seeing like 20 volts and things like that at 3,000 RPM. So I'm going to bump up the crank sensor voltages to probably like 5 volts, basically. Anything over idle speed, because if I'm getting more than 5 volts of noise, then I've probably got bigger issues. So yeah, that's what I'm going to get done. And what I'm also going to do is, it looks like the cam sensor with a bit of speed, it shows it a lot more clearly. Looks like that might be wired up the wrong way around as well, so I might need to swap the pins around. But I will do a quick bit of research on that, because I thought the voltage was supposed to go up through the gap, so to speak. Well, there was a single tuff, so there is no gap. So yeah, I might need to swap the voltages on that. So those are the two things I'm going to do with the crank sensor wiring and timing. I have already given all of these connectors here a really good shake, and I'm getting no fluctuation at all on the readings on the laptop when it was working. So I'm not getting any like loose connections there or anything like that. So from that side of it, I think is okay. So yeah, I'll change that over. I'll have to put this on charge and I'll change it over. And then the next step, I think, will be the battery. And then when this is up and running, I will tweak the tune, and I'll probably get back on the screen to show you what tweaks I make on that one, or how I'm going to go about it. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but you'll find out how I do it and we'll see if it works. Right, so this is basically what I'm going to do. I've got my fuel table here, or the start of it. It's a little bit patchy, but this is what the tune's hopefully going to do, or the tweaking. Now I've got a time plot of my last log along the bottom here. And that just will tell me the reference for my wideband. And if I move through it with the arrows, you will see my target is moving in my grid to know where I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through to the time plot, and I'm going to find an area here where I'm just steady looking for my target AFR. So the blue line is my target, and then my turquoise line is what I was actually achieving. So if I click on this area here, for example, I can see that my target is, I want 1 lambda, and I've made it a 1.032, so it's a little bit lean. So then I'll go onto the time plot, and that's where I am here. So what I'm going to do is, because as I say, it all needs to be dialed in properly, but I'm just going to highlight the areas around it, because I don't know exactly where it is, and then I am just going to remove a little bit of fuel, and then I'm going to go move along, and then I got a bit of a spike here, so there I actually needed more fuel. So then this one I'll just do the single one. I will just up it a fraction. Now there is probably a proper ratio you need to adjust it by. Maybe I'll look that up. And yeah, it's just a case of working through different bits and different areas. See, there's a little bit still richer than I want it to be there. So up here, I can take a little bit of fuel out again. So yeah, like I say, it's just a case of doing this. It's probably a long-winded way to do it, but I can work around these areas, see where I've adjusted and not adjusted, and yeah, keep working through it basically. So here we're moved out, we're rich here, so a bit more fuel can come out here, because it's crossing over boxes. I'll do some smaller boxes this time, and we'll take a little bit of fuel out. Bit of a lean spike in there. Well, that's when we've already adjusted. And yeah, so that is basically what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through it, adjusting it up and tweaking it, and I'll save on the tune. I'll take it out for a run, and then obviously monitor the wideband.
giving it a little bit more RPM and a little bit more boost each time, as long as I'm happy with it. And then I'll keep tweaking it and tweaking it until I can do sort of foot on the floor, full power sort of stuff. And again, just start with low RPM, build up to like 4,000, and then maybe 4.5, 5, and it's a process like that. Rinse and repeat, and hopefully I should be able to dial in a fuel map. So yeah, that is going to be the process for me over the next few drive cycles. So what I realised is that it needed a lot of fuel coming out of all over the place really. So I've taken loads out all over, and then I've just left, as it goes up through the RPM, I've increased the numbers. So it's not pretty, but the graph will slope up as it goes up in the RPM range. I'd rather have it too rich and need to take fuel out than have it too lean and have to put it in. So we'll see where we end up with it, and then when we've got a little bit more tuned in, I can go about smoothing out things like that. So yeah, that is basically the process. So yeah, I'm going to save this to the ECU, and then obviously keep going at it.
So quickly to mention, I have just set the fuel gauge now, got that in there. It's very sensitive, so it does wobble about quite a bit, but it gives me a reading of where I need to be. So that's done. Turn the ignition off. I have done all of the timing bits and pieces in the map, done the fuel table, I've run another earth, so that just runs down with the rest of it. I put all the trims back on now, as you can't see it, but I've basically got an earth point behind here, and that's where it bolts to, and then all the other earths go to that. So that is got a nice strong earth. Looking back for the logs, I don't actually think it was a problem. I was just looking at it over I was looking at a 20-minute drive over in the log, so all the spikes, when I zoomed in and made it a reasonable time scale, they were nice and smooth. So I don't actually think it was a problem, but it's done anyway. I suppose it can't hurt. Famous last words. So yeah, that is the little bits and pieces. It's all about driving now. Right, okay, so I think I'm going to leave it there for this video. I need to do a lot more driving now to get it all up and going. Or the cruise tune, I should say, sort it out, which is going to be boring to watch, I would have thought. So I'm going to do that without filming it, and what I'll do is then when I start introducing some boost into getting some RPM up, I will obviously start filming then, because that's going to be the exciting stuff, to see what it does, see how it holds up, which is why I built it at the end of the day. So have some fun with it. So yeah, I'll leave the video there. It's probably going to be a nice long one. I'm not sure how much I've got, but yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you all next time.